Got the potential of a long evening here, so try to stay on schedule here. I'm going to read the legal notice first. Public informational hearing, special town meeting, Monday, December 19th, 2022 at 6:30. The electors and citizens qualified to vote in town meeting in the town of Ashford, Connecticut are hereby notified and warned that a public informational hearing and special town meeting will be held on Monday, December 19th at 6:30 p.m. in the lower level meeting room of the town office building, in person, hybrid, and virtually via Zoom. Item 1, receive information on proposed adjustments to previously approved appropriations utilizing American Rescue Plan funds as follows. A, Ashford Volunteer Fire Department radio systems in the amount not to exceed $45,000. Item B, Ashford Volunteer Fire Department replacement of service truck in an amount not to exceed $50,000. Item C, local business relief fund in an amount not to exceed $50,000. Item D, Route 44 crosswalk signage in an amount not to exceed $20,000. Item E, laptop, computer, and owl to facilitate hybrid meetings, $2,000. Following discussion on the above funding request, the special town meeting will be called to order for the purpose of acting on 1, choosing a moderator for said meeting, and 2, approval of the allocation of ARPA funding adjustments. Items A through E in the above list will be voted on separately. This notice was issued by the Board of Selectmen, myself, Roger Phillips, and Catherine Silversmith. I'll start. There's a couple of fire department issues here that I think we have talent in the room that can give a little better explanation. But item A.
Do you have to be voted as, or nominate you for the moderator?
Not until we go into town meeting.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Okay.
The first item, item A, is to make adjustments inadvertently at our last town meeting for ARPA. We omitted having the fire department. Since we started doing the allocations recommending the new radio systems for both the Public Works Department and the fire department, and a couple of pieces of equipment up at the school, prices have gone up drastically. And that $45,000 is to cover the overage that we ran into for the new radios for the fire department, which were omitted the last time. I'm just going to go to item B, and then Paul, perhaps you can come up and give a little dissertation on these two items. The second is a request that the Board of Selectmen originally got a letter from the fire department requesting consideration of the purchase of a new, and I'm sorry, there's no date on this, but this was several weeks ago, a truck to replace the existing service truck. And that amount, and I'll let Paul get into the explanation of what the intention of the fire department is to approve an amount not to exceed $50,000. So Paul, why don't we turn the floor over to you and just remind you to speak up, because we do have some people listening in from.
Right, I know all these guys, and I know that lady too. So, back in the first round of ARPA funds, we had talked about the radio system, the Connecticut Land-Based Mobile Radio Network that Ms. Silversmith had worked on. And prior to all this finally getting through, the cost just increased. So the $45,000 is literally the increase that the entire system has overtaken. We just elected to separate it out this way so that we could make sure we move forward with things, because the other problem is that, as most people are aware, the supply chain issue is an enormous problem. So we wanted to get things rolling. So in order to facilitate that, we took this section out. Now we're just asking for the town to to add the extra 45,000 so we can finish the project basically and get the department on board.
For those in the public that may be listening to this or unaware of it, could you just give a brief description of the new band that we'd be going with?
Sure,
And
it's
the concept
we
behind
call it
it?
the 7,800 band system, but it essentially is to make it in layman's terms, it's like using a cell phone, but it's a mobile radio. So the state has built a system and originally started with the state police. So that system now has been opened up to public safety and town entities. What we do is we get the appropriate radios with the appropriate frequencies and some other technological stuff input into it, and that enables us to have a talk group with our dispatch center and amongst ourselves without impacting other areas of the state. But at the same time, if there's an event where we need to go to another section of the state or another town, we've simply changed channels. Now we can talk to them, and that's actually the state. This all actually started with 9/11 and then progressed further with the Sandy Hook incident because they had a huge problem with communication. So right now, for instance, if we go 3 towns over to Chaplin or Hampton, we could potentially have a communication problem. Kind of band-aided it for now. But that's kind of what the state is driving us to this on purpose. That enables a better communication and cross communication amongst all entities. And the beauty of this system is we'll be able to talk with our public works department without having to pick up the telephone or call our dispatch center. Once all the units are in place, we can just simply talk on the radio with them directly.
Very good. Oh, any questions, Catherine, Roger?
No questions. I'm just very much in favor of this. It's,
Well, Catherine started it.
it's way overdue.
Yeah,
And-
it's the system is very impressive. I've done multiple tests with it, so is my deputy. So we've done a lot of stuff and literally traveled across half the state. And was able to talk to each other like we were next door.
Awesome.
It's some really good technology.
Any questions or comments? I know you guys are familiar with it. You're all set. All right. Paul, you want to touch on the service truck?
Sure. Our current service truck is a 1985 military surplus vehicle. It would be equivalent in today's terms to a 3500 model F-350 or a 3500 Silverado or Sierra. The department purchased it. I don't even know when. And they fabricated it into, we use it as a forestry unit and a first responder unit for medical incidents if our ambulance is out unavailable. We use it in weather events. It's a 4-wheel drive platform. So we can access places if we needed to in snow. We respond to like trees down on the road when there's no wires or fire involved. We would use that vehicle. It's getting kind of old. We've
Kinda?
What's that?
Kinda?
It's 37, yeah. So 37 years old. The biggest challenge lately has been parts. It's a converted vehicle, so there are some things that are a little bit different than your normal off-the-shelf 85 square body Chevy, which makes it difficult to keep it running. We do keep it running, but it's kind of seen as useful life. And all we would like to do is purchase a cabin chassis or pickup body, whatever we can find, given the current market. With the intention of basically doing what the department did the first time with that unit, is take the equipment off of that we can use, put it on whatever we can purchase, and then add or subtract as necessary to bring it up to the current level of standard. So we would be basically replacing what we have, just with a newer version of it. We don't intend on adding anything fancy or anything like that. It's just going to be the same thing, a forestry truck or first responder vehicle. And a utility truck for all intents and purposes.
Can I ask how you arrived at the $50,000 figure?
Yeah, tried to come up with a number that didn't break the bank, and also that gave us a little bit of leeway to purchase something on the used market. When I built the number, I didn't go after a new unit.
Yeah.
I was looking at used things because the new units, first of all, are very hard to come by and they're super expensive. And I didn't think it warranted that for what we would use the vehicle for. So, I looked around, came up with some different numbers. One of my members helped, we looked at different options. We looked at purchasing a used full built vehicle. And I think the last time we talked, I told you, like, the cheapest one we found was 119,000. And it just, and then you have the problem of, does it actually suit what you need? Because you didn't build it.
Yeah.
You're buying somebody else's truck. So in this case, we decided that we could probably spend 35 to 40,000 to purchase a cabin chassis or pickup, in a reasonable time frame, and then use the balance of the funds to transfer the equipment over, replace what would be needed. For instance, we have toolboxes on our current truck that would need to be replaced. But that gave us a little bit of funds to do that and not have to overspend. So.
Thanks, Paul. Question, Catherine?
No, Chief Fargo already covered it.
Roger?
No.
All set?
Anybody on the Zoom call? I see Cat, that's it.
Are there any questions out there? No? Folks? No? Thanks, Paul. Item C, local business relief fund, in an amount not to exceed $50,000. This is a program that's been instituted by a number of the towns, both in our region here, but throughout the state, to try to be a mechanism to help some of the small businesses with costs that they ran into as directly as a result of COVID. This was recommended to us by the Economic Development Commission, and they submitted examples of the support documentation that Mansfield uses. I believe Wellington uses it. Basically, what we would do is come up with an application form for small businesses that fall within the definitions that we would define, and probably have a maximum of somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000. An example of a business, and I'm not going to mention a particular name, but if we happen to have a restaurant in town that put up partitions in between and took specific measures to help with the spread of COVID and precautions, those are the sort of things that we would look at. If they could show us direct information regarding revenue and annual incomes that there was as a result of COVID, that would be another consideration. Our board has not decided on the specific protocols yet, but I believe in concept what we talked about is once we develop the get approval and develop a formal application form, we'll probably appoint a committee with the Department of Economic Development and whatever, and let them make some recommendations. The ultimate decisions will be by the Board of Selectmen. Roger, Catherine, anything to add to that at all?
Only that committee will be making recommendations to us.
Any questions or anything on that? Any questions out there in the audience? Our audience of one, I think. Two. All right. Item D, Route 44 crosswalk signage in amount not to exceed $20,000. The crosswalk between Tremco Lane here and Knowlton Memorial Hall, we installed probably over 20 years ago. And it had engineering design flaws from the very beginning. As you may recall, if any of you remember when that was working, you push a button on either side, reflecting lights would come up to notify potentially, and there were lights across the road, across 44 that were flashing. After it was installed within the first year, those lights across the road were taken out by the state plow trucks. I understand a former board of ours, we spent about $14,000 or so to repair it. And within another year, that was shot again too. So we're looking to do a complete other redesign. We feel that $20,000 is a reasonable amount to do it. We're going to ask the state if we need to install it ourselves. We would do that, similar to some other speed signs that we're working on. But we've also checked with NECOG, who kind of is an advisor to us on some of the ARPA potential funding. And within the ARPA guidelines for public safety, that even though it happens to be on a state road, it falls within that definition. So. Roger, Catherine, anything to add to that?
No,
Any questions?
Well, are you looking at, like, the lights on the road, obviously were an enormous problem, because that doesn't work in a snow type environment, so is there another?
You know, the middle school in Wellington on 32, they have a button system there with flashing lights and speed signals. It would be
Same idea.
same idea, same basic process. And
You have questions online?
I have a question, Bill. It's Janet Bellamy. Is this money just to study, or is it to study and implement the design?
that will be enough to implement.
The crossing and all that's already there. It's just gonna-
We've already had permit previously and a study done. In fact, since that was installed, traffic has picked up in that area. So all of that, Janet, has already been done.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Question?
Yeah, thank you, Bill. Jeff Silversmith, if it's $14,000 to fix this thing every time the state wipes it out, is 20,000 enough to put in a system that will outlast any type of effect on it that way?
We feel it is, but of course, if it's not, Jeff, then we're gonna have to come back. It's a real difficult process right now with pricing these things out. Good example is item A on this. We've repriced that 3 times with our radio systems.
Mhm.
Every time we go back 2 or 3 months later, it's increasing. So the judgment was, let's pick a figure, try to work within that dollar amount. And I think we're gonna be able to do it. Some of the speed signs that you've seen installed on Turnpike and on North Road.
Yep.
They're running around $5,000 a piece.
we got those, I'm sorry. We got those for free and they did offer to get us more.
Yeah, and that's who we've been talking to with price. There's no more available on a free basis, but they have put us in touch with their distributor, who's told us that the cost is about between 5,000 and 5,500. But I guess the answer, it's somewhat of, Jeff, an educated guess. We're hoping it's sufficient. If it's not, we'll have to do like we've done on several items and come back to the town.
Will we potentially have options should it go larger? That's fine, thank you.
We're avoiding having the plow issue. I mean, that seems to be the big issue is the
Oh,
plows.
Won't be
Because
lights in the
everything,
road.
yeah, everything, the existing system was connected into those lights. If we remove those lights, the existing system's gonna be, off the road.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All right, the last item is laptop, computer, and OWL facilities. What we're hoping to do is more and more boards, we're encouraging boards to meet in person now. And it's been determined previously that if we can afford it and it makes sense to do hybrid meetings for all of our boards, or at least have the option. And the idea here is to set up this room a little bit more user-friendly, and to set up the selectmen's conference room upstairs across from the first selectman's office with another OWL system and perhaps a screen. And that's what this 2,000 will probably cover that. Again, we may very possibly have to come back for some more money.
And if I can add to that,
Sure.
the intention is to make it so that if we do have hybrid meetings, at least the public who cannot leave their kids to come to the meetings, whatever, can participate from home. They will.
As a board member, I can tell you that it is, it's just cumbersome when you want to do it in person or you want to do a hybrid. Because now you have to make sure you have somebody that can connect it. If we can get it all set up, then we don't have to worry about that. It'd
Exactly.
be way easier and a lot less stressful for the chairs. Who I don't have to deal with, I'm not the chair, but I'm back behind it, so I understand, and it is kind of, it does take a level of skill and knowledge, so and I thank these guys for helping us out, John and Mike.
Right now, you know, and as a member of the Board of Finance, I'm sure you're conscious of it. Right now, our Zoom funding and everything is being
Right.
covered by ARPA. The light is getting closer at the end of the tunnel, but those funds running out. So we're gonna have to take a look at that too, and what the financial, long-term financial impact is. But our intention is at all possible to do these hybrid meetings, because I think it is a good idea to offer and get as many people involved as possible.
Well, it makes for more government in the sunshine.
Yeah, and I mean, we've kind of created I don't want to say we created a problem, but we have the people who no longer want to come out for whatever reason, plus now we're in the cold month, so it's even more difficult, so it does enable that, and as a person who has to travel for work, it makes it super easy for me to be able to attend those meetings and not have to worry about it, so.
Any other questions, comments?
You have one on, you have one online.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to confirm, I see the little owl over Paul right now, so I take it this is an owl session that we're working in right now.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, and Paul, I appreciate your comment regarding the difficulty, the cumbersomeness of a chair trying to run both, and the fact that if we get this set up so that it's not on the fly each time for each meeting, that will help out greatly in again, getting everyone covered and allowing people to attend and join into the meetings. So I'm fully behind the hybrid meeting session, as long as I don't have to become an IT expert.
I had a meeting with Savage, our IT folks, and also our Mike D'Amato, who has some expertise in this with his company. This past week, looking at enhancements in this room. The OWL product we have in front of us that we're utilizing right now has been upgraded with better cameras and better mics and everything. So that's, we think it'd be more, the new one would be more adaptable to this room with more people being able to easily hear and be seen. So we're working on that. We'll report back to everyone how we're making out.
And the 2000 will cover that new version.
We're hoping. All right, hearing no more discussion, unless there's objection, I'm going to go to the town meeting portion of the legal notice. And the first item on that is to choose a moderator for said meeting. Do I have any nominations?
Nominate Bill Coletti.
I
Is-
second that nomination.
We have a motion on the floor to second. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Thank you, folks. Item 2, approval of the allocations of ARPA funding adjustments, items A through C. In the above list will be voted on separately. I will take a motion for item A, which is the Ashford Volunteer Fire Department radio system.
Motion to be approved.
We have a motion made. Is there a second?
Whoa.
Well,
Ron Ricci.
You made the motion?
Yes,
Are you a voter in town?
yeah.
Yes, he is.
Okay.
Jen's.
I know.
It's her job to check.
Fine.
I'm very good at doing that.
Yes, officially check.
You said Ron?
Yeah.
I have Alyssa, I have Jennifer.
You're not ready to do the vote, Ron?
I
Did
can
you-
make the motion
Or if,
to approve it. Yeah.
So.
Okay.
It's not, I just took the vote. So.
Ryan Damble.
Ryan,
Just a point of order or clarification, Sherry. If the person is a taxpayer in town, but not a registered voter, are they entitled to vote on a budgetary issue in town?
yes,
Okay.
But they can't make the motion. It doesn't matter.
well, right,
It's kind of a moot point. I mean.
no, he could, but I'm still trying to work around the fact that you're not in here.
Yeah, well, we'll beat him up later, though.
So do you have,
So let's go with Brian made the motion, second by. I'll second him. Thank you, Dave.
All right, any more comments or questions? All in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Unanimous, thank you. Item B, Ashford Volunteer Fire Department, replacement of service truck in an amount not to exceed $50,000. Do I have a motion?
Ryan Damble.
All right,
I'll second that.
Catherine Silversmith, seconds. Are there any comments, questions? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Janet,
Yep. I heard
Aye.
it.
Yes.
no one in opposition? Approved unanimously. Item C, local business relief fund in an amount not to exceed $50,000. Do I have a motion?
Motion to
moved.
accept item C. Jeff Silversmith.
Jeff, you second it?
I tried to first it, but I'll second it, absolutely.
So we don't want to get into it.
You are.
Family squabble here. Let's say that Jeff has made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll make.
Thank you. Better listen, both of us.
We have a motion on the floor that's been seconded. Is there any discussion or questions? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Unanimous. Item D. If anybody wants to abstain, don't be bashful. Item D, Route 44 crosswalk signage in an amount not to exceed $20,000. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Paul Vargas made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it. Well.
Rob? We have a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, I'll call for vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Item C, laptop computer and OWL to facilitate hybrid meetings. In the amount of $2,000. I have a motion.
So moved.
Catherine Silversmith made the motion. Is there a second? Paul Vargas seconds it. Any further discussion or questions?
Can I ask a question real quick?
No.
I don't know if 2,000 is gonna be enough. Is there a way to add to that, or do we need to come back to another meeting?
We're gonna have to come back to it. We tried,
Just as we did with the other.
yeah, we've looked into that before and it's not,
Okay. I'm just asking.
and that was under the advice of town
Avoid the
council.
spin, but that's okay.
Yeah, yeah. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion on the floor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, it's passed unanimously. Thank you. All right, we are going to adjourn now, to the Board of Selectmen's meeting. And it's 7:01, so we're running right on time.